Oh, the holidays are here, and one of my favorite dishes is lame duck, served warm or cold. What am I talking about? The Securities and Exchange Commission and its chairperson, Gary Gensler, is continuing to go after major pieces of the Trump administration, including the incoming Commerce Secretary nominee, Howard Lutnick, and Elon Musk, until his last dying breath when Gary Gensler leaves the position on January 20th. Until then, he is the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. And I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Let's get to it. We're not sitting around letting grass grow under our feet. The party that's in power is making sure that things are done to protect America right up until the 20th of January. Gary Gensler, long been a thorn in the side of almost everybody that Donald Trump has picked to be in his cabinet. Every business person and every billionaire in his cabinet has gotten sideways at one point with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Some of them more than once, including Donald Trump. And now we've got something I am sure is sticking in the craw of Donald Trump, because Gary Gensler, who has announced that he's done on January 20th, but he's not done until then. Two major Wall Street enforcement actions are in the works. One, a major fine against Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick's company, the Commerce Secretary, for $6.75 million that was just announced yesterday. I am sure that they wanted to kick that off and kick that down the road until well after January and let the new, more compliant Securities and Exchange Commission commissioner come in and wave his magic wand and make that disappear. But Gary Gensler's group said, no way. We're not waiting. We've done this investigation for a couple of years now. Has to do with special purpose acquisition companies. It's called SPACs, or blank check companies. I'm going to break it down for you here about what I know about the settlement based on we just got it here, the new cease and desist order by the Securities and Exchange Commission against Howard Lutnick's Cantor Fitzgerald. And then I'm going to talk about Elon Musk, who just announced through his own lawyer that the Securities and Exchange Commission is either going to settle with him immediately within 48 hours on a term, or they're going to start their enforcement action related to both his acquisition of Twitter and stock purchases before he did it, and a company he has called Neuralink, which people have said and claimed has made unreasonable, fraudulent statements about its technology at the heart of that company. I'm sure Musk and Lutnick, who know each other well and have been hanging out at Mar-a-Lago during the transition team issues, I'm sure they're sitting around with scowls on their faces about why couldn't we just advance the clock and get to after January? Yeah, that's not happening. Because the Democrats are still in charge. We're still in charge in the Senate. We're still in charge of the White House. Let's get down to what the Securities and Exchange Commission just did, and here we go. So on the Cantor Fitzgerald side, that's the company that is owned and controlled by Howard Lutnick, the incoming Commerce Secretary. He's also one of the heads of the transition team. One question CNBC and some other news reporting agencies have asked, and it's a good one, is he was head of the transition team. Did he mention to the transition team that Cantor Fitzgerald had in the works an enforcement action with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which could lead to a multi-million-dollar fine, yes or no, and a finding of fraud, because that's what just happened. Let's stay with that one. What happened? Cantor Fitzgerald's made a lot of money running being kind of the book runner, if you will, for what's called special purpose acquisition corporations or companies. We call them SPACs, SPAC. It's also known as blank check company. It's a way to get around securities laws and to bring companies public without having to go through a lot of the regulatory red tape. And they were all the rage for the last 5 or 8 years. Cantor Fitzgerald first among them in running these things. And so they had two in particular that the SEC was troubled by and found fraud in statements related to them. When you're a blank check company, you get to collect money and raise money from investors at $10 a unit, not shares yet, and look for a public company to acquire, therefore taking it's access to the public market directly without having to go through all that red tape. But there's one major limitation. You are not allowed to let either know who you're going to acquire or let your investors know who you're going to acquire for that particular SPAC vehicle. You can't have any contact with the possible target or acquisition. And when you look the public in the eye and the investing market in the eye and you tell them, just give me your money, here's the broad strokes of what we're going to invest in and leave it to us. Now, some people might say, well, what if you don't like the investment? Or they don't make the investment on time? Well, they don't make the investment within a year or maybe by extension 2 years, they got to return all the money. And if you don't like the investment, you can redeem and get your money back. But you're not supposed to know who the target is. Now, some people might be thinking, isn't this what Donald Trump's SPAC company got fined for? Because they knew they were going to acquire Truth Social, and they let it be known to their investors, which that's not the way this is supposed to work. And they got fined over, let me get the number right. I think they got fined over $18 million. They did. We want to share an important message from our sponsor, Americans United for Separation of Church and State. If you care about abortion rights, LGBTQ plus rights, rejecting school voucher schemes, and fighting censorship, then guess what? You care about the separation of church and state. For more than 75 years, Americans United has been on the front lines defending your freedom to live and believe as you choose, so long as you don't harm others. And that fundamental right is under attack like never before in our nation's history. We know what we're up against, and the next 4 years will mean managing the onslaught of attacks from Christian nationalists and right-wing extremists attempting to force us all to live by their narrow beliefs. Backed by $1 billion shadow network, this vocal minority is pushing their anti-democratic agenda everywhere. But here's the thing. You can make a difference by joining Americans United. They've been through this before, and they will never stop fighting to make sure all of us can be who we are, not who Christian nationalists want us to become. In a country divided, they are Americans United. Join in the fight. au.org/legalaf. That's au.org/legalaf. Here, two different SPACs. Cantor Fitzgerald made, one was a $500 million deal in which Cantor Fitzgerald made a $10 million fee and took a $143 million equity stake in the company. And the other one was a $250 million deal where Cantor got a $62 million equity position in the company at a $5 million fee. So you're talking about $200 million of money plus $15 million of fees going to Cantor Fitzgerald. And what the SEC found is that they lied about the fact that they knew who they were going to acquire in both of these SPACs and done the due diligence and even let investors know. So when they told their investors in disclosures, we don't know who we're going to acquire, that was false. So they filed, the SEC, as they often do, when they reach a settlement, they file the order instituting cease and desist proceedings. So they start the proceedings and then they conclude them all in the same document. But really, this reflects months and months, if not a year or so, of enforcement action, investigation, negotiations, all getting filed and wrapped up on the same day. So I just want to clear that up for people who are like, wait, they just started the action and they settled it on the same day? Yeah, that's how this works usually. We don't know about it in the public unless it leaks to the papers about the investigation until they announce the resolution. And under the resolution, they have to make a payment within a very short amount of time of $6.7 million within 14 days of the entry of this order. And they have all, and then of course there's a press release from the SEC about it. So I am sure that the incoming Commerce Secretary and head of the transition team and buddy of Donald Trump wanted to push this off and hope this could end with a new replacement for Gary Gensler at the SEC in January. Not happening. Elon Musk, similarly, is not getting out from under the SEC in the remaining time left on the clock. They're doing an investigation, and we know this because he's social media posted about it, and MAGA Congress has social media posted about it, and Elon Musk's own lawyer, Alex Spiro, has posted about it. And what it has to do with is two things that Elon Musk has done wrong, as alleged by the SEC. One, he has a company called Neuralink Corporation, which has made some pretty lofty claims about their technology related to the brain and other things that don't seem to pass muster. And so whether those statements were fraudulent enough or fraudulent in order to induce investors to invest in the company, that's one thing. And then before Elon Musk acquired Twitter in 2022 for $44 billion. He was buying and selling stock related to it. And the question is whether he violated securities laws in the way he bought and sold and statements that he made around that and disclosures he made or did not make around that. Now, of course, Elon Musk doesn't like the fact, like Howard Lutnick, that the Securities and Exchange Commission under Gary Gensler is still up and running, and starts tweeting out, oh, this is an example of the weaponization of the Securities and Exchange Commission to do political dirty work. And Alex Spiro, the lawyer, said in a letter back to the SEC, please tell us if this is your decision or the White House, as if Joe Biden is like manipulating the SEC. I mean, they have all these conspiracy theories that don't make any sense. I assure you, Gary Gensler is wearing his big boy pants. He's done a great job as the Securities and Exchange Commission, but he's been the bane of the existence of billionaires who don't want regulation, who he's been regulating cryptocurrency, which they hate. They're all heavily invested in cryptocurrency. I mean, most of the administration, including Donald Trump, Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, heavily invested in cryptocurrency. They hate this guy. And they want to get rid of him. And this guy's like, yeah, and I got a job to do until you get rid of me on the 20th of January. I mean, I'm going, I'm backing out, but I got a job to do. And I'm going to continue to follow all the ways the Biden administration and separate departments and agencies and cabinet positions within the Biden administration continue to do their job until the very end, including, and I'll do this in follow-up hot takes, including Joe Biden taking important steps through executive orders and other actions to strengthen his policies and make it harder for Donald Trump to dismantle the Biden domestic policy wins when he gets into office. There's ways to do it, and Joe Biden is working on it right now. Nobody knows the Senate better than Joe Biden, having served all that time there. Nobody knows how to secure legislation better than Joe Biden, and he's putting those talents to work right now. I'm Michael Popok. Thank you for being on the MeidasTouch Network and with Legal AF. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.